Sorry. You guys weren't supposed to get here this quickly. Hi. Alright, I promised to go live again, and this is me going live, but this is me going live while eating my dinner, so it is what it is until 8:30. It is good soup. Yeah. Anywho. Today's been a super fun day. Nothing eventful happened in the world, so, you know. Somewhere between vegetable and minestrone, because I like both. So it's minestrone, but with like extra vegetables. Yeah, I like vegetables. I don't know why I'm still apologizing for that. But make a minestrone soup recipe and then double, if not triple, the vegetables, because I have adult money and I spend it on beans. Welcome to the stimulating conversation that is. Yeah, like always, my lives have no purpose. Pick a topic, any topic. Soup talk. Wasn't that a TV show? Soup talk. Oh, talk soup. Yeah, okay. Look, my memory's not completely failing me. I mean, of course, why wouldn't you guys tune in to watch me eat dinner, but my other live got cut short. I feel bad. What else? I had a super exciting day. I had 3 cavities filled. Coffee talk. Ooh. Can I tell you, not much about the Trump administration is really going to piss me off, but I can live, look, I live in a tofu kind of world. I can eat eggs as much as I can eat tofu. Like, there's a lot of things I can live without. Coffee is not one of them. Like, just, I think the one thing that Trump has done that has truly just kind of like, oh, is the coffee. I admit it, it's a slight addiction. It's legal. Technically, it's legal until Project 2025 really gets going. I think it's the Mormons that don't drink caffeine. Not the religion, just the, oh no, like, we believe in the sky daddy? Fine. Fine. We don't believe in caffeine? You're in a cult. You and Scientologists. I don't hate anybody who has... I feel like this, because I didn't hoard toilet paper, like during COVID, I was one of those people who stayed home and was like, you a-holes breathe on each other. I'll fight for the 3 a.m. slots when they open up at ShopRite. I didn't hoard during COVID, mainly because I couldn't get my hands on anything really, but like coffee. I even bought instant stuff, so like if my coffee supply runs out, I have instant to see me through. I mean, I don't, and it's in a secure location, definitely not my house. I am on YouTube. Oh my god! I counted 4 sheets of TP per use, but coffee. Look, I have a bidet. I don't need to hoard TP. I do have some, but like, I didn't. Compared to all my neighbors who were, and I'll be honest, hoarding. But also, like, hoarding ice cream. You know, if the world ends and the power dies, the ice cream's gonna be one of the first things to go. Like, every time it snows in Jersey, like, the freezer section empties out, and I'm just like, think this through. It's snowing, it's icy, the power goes out, you lose heat, and what you've decided to stock up on is ice cream. Do you know, I will say I'm thankful for COVID because it taught more people the power of a bidet. Like, if you like a bidet, find your way to Japan. They are the mecca of bidet. They have different air temperatures, they have different air flows. You can take like a break midway and hose down. Some of them put scents in. They air dry. You can choose the temperature of the air that drives your tuchus. Then they have these plastic sheets that roll around the rims, so anytime you sit down in a public toilet, I'm just saying, like, you have not pooped until you've pooped in a Japanese toilet. Oh, and even like they have cushy seats in the American hotels. They have cushy seats, which is weird. I am not a camper outer in the toilet. Like, here's what I don't understand: manly men who build entire homes, find themselves locked into the bathroom, sitting on the most uncomfortable seat in the house, the throne. I'm sorry. You personally built yourself your own shed, your own duck blind. You built your wife a ceramic shed of her own. You even built a pizza oven in your backyard. Yet you get trapped in the bathroom? Just build yourself a man cave with a lazy boy. You can build all these things, and it's never occurred to you to not sit on the chair that encourages hemorrhoids. I. This is why I will never understand men. You have an entire house of furniture. Any one of those chairs, you could just drag it like into the bathroom, throw it in the corner of the shower. You could just sit in the lazy boy in the shower. Like, if you don't want to deal with your family and you want a door that's locked and people not to bother you, bring a blow up mattress into the shower. Like, I don't, I may never fully understand. Ever. Of all the things men do, that might be the one. That might be the one I don't get. Like the fact that we've installed magazine racks. Instead of just giving your husband an extra fiber pill to help him and his colon out, it's like, no, no. I shall put magazines in here. I've even seen they have this little grass thing you can put around your toilet. It's like the poop and putt. Because why wouldn't you work on your golf game while pooping? I don't understand. I don't need to be fancy. I need to not spend time in that room. I don't understand. So my favorite thing about the Toronto house is the toilet room is separate from the washroom, as God intended it. I don't understand why people just want to hang out in the room with the toilet. Like, you know what happens there, right? The potty putter. Yeah, poop. Well, okay, the potty putter, whatever you want to call it, it's astroturf that goes around the toilet, like the little carpet thing you can put. Only it's astroturf, and then there's a little flag and a little cup, and you putt putt. They're saying men can only focus on one thing. If you can poop and putt at the same time, that's two. They're capable of multiple focuses. They can multitask. They just don't want us to know. Okay, I will say my dentist, I had a childhood dentist I didn't mind, but I don't really remember. In the years since, either they get off on pain, I swear they've drilled in cavities that weren't there for their financial gain, or honestly, like, ugh, feelings. Feelings. I just, mm-mm. So I have held off most major dental things for years. Like, there's not much wrong with my teeth, but I definitely don't get cleanings on the regular. I brush. I brush. I floss and I floss. But I had cracked a molar on something, and like I didn't crack anything that hurt, but like you can't leave it. So I had thrown out to TikTok, like, does anybody in the New Jersey area have a non-creepy, COVID-conscious, like, not pain-loving, sadistic, like, isn't trying to finance their fifth home with their 12th ex-wife dentist? And this one woman wrote in and she was like, I got you. I got you. And I'll be honest, I went and I was like, but you know what, at least I'll get this fixed and I'll get past this. I walked in, all the staff are wearing masks. They have a COVID protocol. The girl who cleaned my teeth is super nice and gentle. You know, when they get in there and that, like, yeah, I'm trying to pull your tooth out kind of way. And then I met, like, the actual dentist. Like, you get the cleaning and then you meet the dentist. From the moment she wheeled her ass in, I was like, she just looks nice. She just looks like somebody you want to hug. And then she's really good at what she does. Like, even when you don't want to hear it, like, well, I'm gonna, whatever now, and you're bicuspid. I'm like, uh-huh, do the thing. Like, overly explains what she's going to do. Just, if I got nothing else out of TikTok, I got a dentist. I think she's like a decade older than me. Originally from Barbados. So either I stop going to the dentist when she dies, or she retires and we both go back to Barbados and I just force her to do my teeth in her garage once a month. Either way. Either way. But I honestly, like, I don't fear going to the dentist with her. Like, I've gone to the dentist and then, like, 8 hours later, I wake up from a nap and I still have a headache because, like, my teeth are throbbing from, like, I had one, like, go into my gums in a way that was just like, to eat right now. The fact that they are co-conscious, the staff is stupid nice, and they don't have to be, but they're just stupid nice. And then even, I did have to have a tooth pulled. She sent me to, I want to say an orthodontist. That might not be an endodontist. I had to get the tooth pulled. Fine. She was in there. They did the Novocaine. She walked out. She came back in. She did like, and like, I kind of felt whatever. And literally, I thought she was prepping something. And then she's like, okay, well, we're good. I went back to my dentist and I was like, so the woman who pulled out my tooth, I was expecting to take the entire day off. I was expecting this whole hellscape. Like, I was expecting the worst day of my life. She pulled my tooth out and I didn't know about it. She's like, yeah, we went to the same, like, dentist school. Like, if you're good at what you do, you're good at what you do. It's why I send patients to her. And when people try to argue me, I'm like, you can be stupid. It's just really nice. It's really, really, really nice to have a dentist who's good at what she does, gentle, non-traumatizing, and works with people she likes, respects, trusts. And her staff clearly like her, which is probably the biggest thing. Because so many of them, I'm like, You know, if you piss off your staff takes it out on our teeth for the rest of the day. Like, I'm a masker made into California this weekend to see my dad. Nice. I will say, as much as people like, okay, I wear a mask. I haven't had a cold in 4 years. At the very least, I'm just giving my immune system a break. I used to get sick like once every 3 weeks. And inevitably, by the end of the winter season, like my doctor was like, I cannot put you on one more Z-Pack. There is nothing left in your body for that Z-Pack to fight. Like, you will never regrow gut bacteria if I give you another dose. I haven't had a cold. I haven't turned my humidifier on. I haven't like put Vicks Vapor Rub on my body. Like, not that it works, but like you hit a level of desperation where you're like, okay, whatever, onions in the socks, Vicks Vapor Rub on the chest. I haven't been sick in 4 years. I've gotten a couple of food poisonings. Fine. That happens. Takeout, whatever. But I got colds like every 3 to 4 weeks, all winter long. And not like, oh, she's got a cold. I sounded like I was actually trying to get my lung out of my body. In 4 years. In 4 years, I have not done that. And everybody's like, oh, you gotta work your immune system. I'm like, no, every single day, your immune system works. If your immune system ever stops working, I don't care how clean your house is. The things that are in your house will kill you. Your immune system works every day. When it's overloaded is when you notice, because that's when you get a cold, flu, whatever. It doesn't need any more of a workout than it's getting. It's like when people are like, oh, I'm going to detoxify my liver. Like, no. No, if you have to detoxify your liver, you're in liver failure, and that's a whole different problem. Your liver literally detoxifies your body. It's a built-in accessory. Um, I'm, my friend went to a wedding, and this is odd because they went to the wedding together. They stayed in the same room that night, in different beds, but still, like they breathed the same air. One of them I was on a call with last night. She is hawking up a lung, and I'm like, oh my god, I used to sound like you, and I felt so bad for her because I know what that feeling is, but at the same time, I'm like, oh my god, I'm not you. Yay. Um, I know eventually I'll get COVID. I just would like to hold off getting COVID as long as possible. And given whatever the hell Trump is up to now, I don't I don't want to get anything. I, because as much as his team is now backtracking on like banning Medicare, Massachusetts Department of Health tried to pull down funds from Medicare yesterday and they got blocked. Like state of Massachusetts, the refunds they're supposed to get, they couldn't pull it down. I mean, like Trump tried. There are people on Medicare who, if they go to the hospital tonight, might very well get a bill they can't afford. Now we have to worry about. Okay, with Trump, it's bad enough. And then there's somebody, they won't tell us who. But before the CDC can talk to the WHO or any of the health organizations publish anything publicly, there's somebody in Trump's administration, and they will not clarify who that person is, who has to read the messages that go out. We remember how Trump handled COVID. And don't get me wrong, I like going out. I like my friends. I like doing things. Thankfully, they've all adapted to a world where we can sit outside or do outside things. I do inside things, I just wear a mask. So, like, I won't inside dine with you, but I will inside sit at the restaurant while you eat and talk to you. Someone should have to read everything. No, no. Because, heaven forbid they edit Trump. Anyhow, you can sign up for newsletters. Yeah. I was actually, oh, that's the other list I have to put together, like health resources you can sign up for. Because you can still monitor sewage waste testing that isn't controlled, like, that is publicly available information. I don't know if they've put together that you can use that to track COVID rates. But, like, the amount of hoops people are going to have to jump through, like, Trump's on a golf course, calls Columbia. Columbia says no thank you to, the undocumented. Price of coffee doubles. Like, Trump decides to cut all federal spending until people justify, like, you could lose Medicare. It's just like Trump silenced health organizations, so we have an entire freaking pandemic because he doesn't want to affect the price of, I don't know, Kleenex. Like, and the thing of it is, if you're savvy, you can sign up for the emails, but also a lot of those emails are a bit more technical. Like, you can sign up for, the Harvard Medical Journal. Like, you can sign up for a lot of these, even on Blue Sky. There are people posting on Blue Sky, epidemiologists, immunologists. Half of what they say, I have to look up because I don't. They're speaking the language they're speaking, which we need them to speak, but like, ooh, I do not feel smart. There are many people who won't try. What do you think this buyout incentive for $2 million? Here's the thing. This is what gets me about the government employees. Like, to go into government service is to know that you will never be paid well. But you believe in what you're doing will further the greater good of working for our government. The small payoff is a pension. Now, look, some a-holes get into their jobs, like our elected officials. Screw you forever, Cory Booker. They get into politics and, they can get very corrupt. But for the most part, these are just people who chose government service because they want to do something. They could make so much more money on the open market doing the exact same thing. To be let go because they were doing their jobs, like the DOJ, they didn't have a say in the investigation they got assigned to. Yes, they were on the Trump case. It's not like they got to choose it. So to fire them for working on the Trump case, at one point they had said they would pay all the government employees who were let go 2 years' salary. But if that's 2 years' salary and you don't get your government pension, like 2 years' salary is nice, it gets you a buffer, but I'm assuming the job market's gonna suck in another year or two. What does that buy you? And if you're getting that payout, do you get to collect unemployment? But if you're like 3 years away from your pension and you're let go, yeah, you get 2 years' pay, but you don't get your pension? There are not a hell of a lot of people that are going to line up for government jobs. So we're also down the staff who knows how to do, like, even if you hire new IRS auditors, it takes 6 months to a year to train people up in any industry. This is bosses who are like, ooh, they look like they're going to unionize. Let's fire them all and start over again. Or, like, they do it in the warehouses. They'll call ICE. If it looks like all the boxers are about to, like, unionize, they call ICE on themselves, get everybody deported, and then, like, hire all new undocumented. I guess they didn't unionize. It is hard enough to find people who want to be teachers, people who want to work in government, even people who want to be cops, whether or not you like cops. Like, even nurses, like, ooh, I can't wait to touch your pus. Like, it takes a certain personality type. We do not just have this endless supply of people who want to take these jobs. And now you have an odd ending social security number, or you piss off Trump, or Elon has a bad day, somebody didn't call him sexy. You could lose your job for doing your job. Like, nobody at a company gets a choice. Your boss tells you to, like, hopscotch all day, you hopscotch all day. Whether or not you want to, that's what you were told to do. firing people for doing what they were doing, I would keep them. Like, oh, I can't trust that they'll implement the Trump plan properly. They literally listened to their boss and did what was asked of them, and you fired them for it. No, Trump supporters will never be sorry they voted for him. On their last gasping avian bird flu COVID hybrid breath, they will deny COVID, spending their last dime on food, starving to death with distended bellies. They'll blame Hillary. They have this insane. It's a cult. I mean, no matter what he says, no matter extreme it gets, like the Hale-Bopp comet people. There's a comet, and one day it's going to come and save us. And then you find yourself with a shaved head and mutilated genitals, wearing Nikes and all black clothing, eating your last meal at the local Sizzler, and the comet's coming tonight. I swear to God, they're going to lose their homes, they're going to lose their savings, and they're going to defend him. And he is going to tell them, like, and this is like religion. Well, you'll get your reward in heaven. I, Trumpy, will ascend to heaven. When I get there, you'll have all the virgins. He has lied to them in every way, like coal miners. So clearly we're the example of completely screwed. Trump stood in front of them, promised that coal was coming back. Vote for me, and by the end of my 4 to 8 years, everybody's going to have a coal stove in their house again. Coal trucks are going to deliver, homes are going to have to be retrofitted with coal chutes like they were in the 1920s. Coal will be back, baby. And then nothing. And coal miners voted for Trump again. Because this time he's going to do it differently. Kennedy talking about RFK. The entire Kennedy clan says RFK Jr. is unhinged. So perfect to put into our political system. Look, after, and I still can't believe I can say this here, but after Hitler died, well, after Hitler exited early, like the coward he was, if you're such a badass, stick around for the consequences of your actions. I said what I said. There were still people in Germany till their dying day. There are still people alive who were alive during the time of Hitler that think, like Americans killed Hitler. That, Hitler was a great guy. If he had just had a few more years without the interference of those interloping Americans, like the world would have been ethnically cleansed and life would be better. They believe, no, yeah, Trump supporters believe that Trump goes to church. They think he's very religious. Because at this point, they have bastardized religion into whatever the F Trump is. They have gone so far off the course of teachings. If Jesus did land on earth, I would apologize and say I was wrong. But if Jesus happened to land on this earth, a Palestinian refugee, ultra-Orthodox Jew, would be like, what the fuck are you guys? I, Jesus, my teachings, and whatever the fuck you guys are. But they are convinced, and I mean, it's kind of beautiful. Okay, let me say this. I am not against people believing in a hereafter if it gives them comfort, if it gives them somebody to talk to, if it helps them rationalize how wonderful or how terrible the world can be. And in some cases, it just gives people community. They don't really believe in religion. They believe that they need the friends of a church. I have a problem with organized religion and the atrocities they have carried out. I have a bigger problem with whatever the frick religion got us to Trump that convinced people, the truly suffering, like the bottom 10% of our population, that is their lot in life. But if you ask them, they're some of the most religious, and they will tell you, like, but I will get my eternal salvation. All this will be rewarded to me in heaven. And if it's not, and you live this shit existence your entire life, scraping, eking, irking out an existence, and if it's not true, what? Whereas, like Trump is exempt because he is the messenger of the Lord. Jesus holds his shoulder. So many people suffer because of religion. So many people are harmed, abused, emotionally damaged in the name of organized religion. And all I have to say is, whoopsie, I'm sorry. Like, technically by religion, all Hitler has to say is sorry, and he would get into heaven. And he would be equal to the most pious person you've ever met. Does that really work? Like, that is the one point about religion. I'm like, just help me shake this out. Like, okay, the karma, as much as Western world understands it, like karma, you're a terrible person, cockroach nest life, fairsies. In the religion that Trump subscribes to, he can do all this. Republicans can die with distended bellies, with, pandemic, quademic, like, octdemic. Octemic. Oh my god, I can't believe that's a word that might actually be used one day. With an octemic. And all he has to say is like, Trump, be sorry. I mean, somebody explained to me how you can defend organized religion when organized religion tells us that Trump is a good Christian. And the people who are just trying to exist are the sinners. They stole. They stole so they could feed their kids tonight. They are the sinners. But Trump is our chosen leader. Like the Native American happy hunting ground, there are some Buddhism, like there are so many other religions where just your actions in this world are carried on into your next life. Christianity is an express poll to like, whoops, all those priests who raped all those children, all they have to do is say sorry. Then they don't even have to mean it. You just need to say the words. Mighty convenient. Almost like it was written by the predators, not the prey. I mean, none of us actually believe he's religious. Dude, I'm not religious, and I can give you a Bible quote or two. Jesus. I am not religious, and I can quote you the Bible quotes. I mean, let's face it. There's no way Trump hasn't paid for an abortion or two in his time. I mean, Trump's very existence of not paying people for the work done. I mean, I get that it's about abortion, but you understand how many more women are going to die in failed abortions? And we have these numbers, we have these statistics. Because it's not just abortion. Project 2025 is going to roll us back to a very dangerous era for women. Anything that isn't a cis white man is going to be on the endangered list. We already have a problem with women in the military. Their reported grape rates versus what the military themselves believes to be the true number of grapes and assaults. 20% at most is reported. You just turned the US military into the biggest bro factory ever. And my problem is there are still people alive today. We just had, Remembrance Day at Auschwitz yesterday. We have people alive today who were there who managed to survive. And we have an entire generation of people who think Auschwitz was a hoax. The Holocaust didn't happen. Or the Holocaust was just for Jews and, we can't trust the Jews. Like, no, no. I, what is so weird is that all you have to do is cross from the US into Canada, and it's literally not how people think. And then you come back here and it's just like, what the? Shishmorson's legal in Canada. I, it's not exactly easy, but like you can get one. It's not even like a conversation. Like if I need one, I get one. It's just not because I had a fun weekend and nothing better to do. But like, if I lose my job here, I lose my insurance. That is a major stress factor. And I mean, there's nothing medically wrong with me, but if I'm in a car accident, that could financially break me forever. In Canada, just 8 hours that way. By car, an hour and 32 minutes by air. Just, that's not even a stress. I lose my job, I lose my job. I still have health insurance. Is it the perfect system? No. But is it there when you need it? Yeah. It's just, how many people are stuck in jobs they hate, they loathe, they would love to do something else, but the thing they would love to do is tied to health insurance? How many people would love to work at a nonprofit but can't? Because nonprofits can't offer health insurance because many of them barely cover their operating costs. Um, am I considering going back to Canada? Somewhat. First of all, I run my mouth on social media. I am not what would be considered a friend of Trump. At some point, they will come for people like me because we do not make them look good. We point out what is wrong with them. And I don't have millions of followers, so my risk is lower, but it's there. I am a non-married female of breeding years. That is not something that will work in my favor. They have said things like, people on depression medication, people with like mental illness. I have friends who suffer from depression, suffer from a whole host of, they are medicated, they are stable. If Trump stops their medication or, just contains them until they're fixed, there's not a group of us that couldn't be attacked for one reason or another. So as much as I would like to stay here, as much as I like a lot about New Jersey, a ton of my friends are here. I think there's going to come a moment where I'm just like, I am a single white female with a bank account. That might be a problem. And at the rate Trump makes changes at 7 o'clock at night, I don't know when the moment's going to be that I can't access money in my bank account anymore without the permission of a male. And as an unmarried woman, assigned some guy who gets to make decisions for me. I mean, given the funds being cut for childhood cancer research, Meals on Wheels, veterans rehabilitation programs, mine inspections. Like, we have a line item in the federal budget that federal auditors go in and check to make sure that the mines are safe. we froze that budget because apparently we need to justify to Trump why we would inspect mines. I mean, I can figure out why based on whatever campaign donation he got most recently, but I think eventually even Canada's going to have to open their borders to refugees. I think eventually Mexico is going to do the same because it's just, we will be the humanitarian crisis. I forget who asked me yesterday in the comments somewhere, but it was like, oh, well, we can save this country. And I'm like, we really shouldn't. We should really let it burn to the ground and start over. Racism, greed, religion are so baked into our system. It would be much better if we ripped it all apart and started over again. So, like, we, the people, didn't just refer to white, rich one percenters. Very clearly, right to bear arms would be spelled out explicitly. That doesn't mean you, a-hole, and your 9 million bazookas. That, all people are created equal, not just a select few. Freedom of speech should really mean freedom of speech, not freedom of hatred. Freedom of religion, as long as that religion never, ever, ever touches and tax the churches. Tax the churches. 3 pedophiles and you're out strike rule. Putin wants Greenland. Alright, so here's the thing. I hate to say it, but I think the likelihood of Greenland getting taken over is slightly greater than an invasion of Canada. Everybody's talking about the Canada project now, and I was like, you realize Canadians, when pissed off, I mean, we don't have a lot of weapons, but we're well liked internationally. If Canada and the US go to war, so many people would join in and help Canada simply because at this point they hate the US. And honestly, I think at some point China would even step in and help Canada to be like, well, if we help you decimate it, we can just buy it. Fire sale. Poor Greenland. They just, if they were 100 miles in a different direction, they'd probably be better off. But the fact that we're allowing Trump to stay in his first week, the fundamental misunderstanding of how government operates, that he just attempted to free seniors out of their health care and their retirement funds. And they're not on their rascals headed to DC to like, we'll burn this bitch to the ground. How quietly and calmly they just took the fact that they are this close. One Democratic judge at like 6 o'clock today saved your asses temporarily. Like, oh, well, that's not how our government works. Does Trump strike you as a man who gives a shit? Well, you can't do that. Trump flew in an airplane full of classified documents. We're still missing a 17-inch wide Russia binder, which has all the information we have in Russia. We're still missing a 17-inch binder from the Trump administration that went somewhere. He doesn't give a shit about the rules. Truthfully, I think they're kind of hoping that either Greenland or Canada go to war with the U.S. just so everybody else can go to war with the U.S. Oh, I don't think it's buried with his wife. I think it's in the Kremlin. I think he probably FedExed it to them, like, dear Poot Poot, love you much. Here's the secrets we have. I don't think he even sold it to Putin. I think he just turned it over. That man's entire financial existence is due to Saudi Arabia, Russia, and China. Little help from Egypt and Israel. He's not a rich man. He lost it all until Russians started living in his apartments to launder money, until Deutsche Bank got him to launder even more money, allegedly. He literally had a bathroom full of classified documents, and instead of going to jail, Jack Smith quit and he fired everybody at the DOJ. I mean, that's like your boyfriend cheats, so you burn down his house, his mistress's house, and the houses of all the people who knew he was cheating on you, and you get a fire safety award from the fire department because you didn't light fire to the homes during fire watch season. The Russia binder? We have a binder on every country. Russia's binder is like one of the biggest because they're actually our enemy. They're not our friend. They're Trump's friend. The North Korea binder? China's binder is only slightly smaller, apparently, but they're fucking missing. Like, there's an entry in the Library of Congress. Like, they know he still has it somewhere. Well, I guess we'll just never get it back. No, this isn't somebody stole a stapler on the way out. By the way, if you're in Buckingham Palace and you're invited for a meal and you try to steal something, they'll send you a letter saying, like, hi, we noticed your shrimp fork is missing. Please return it. If Buckingham Palace has figured out a polite way to be like, hey, we see you stole the royal silverware, how the fuck can we not get back classified documents? Like, oh, we wouldn't want to offend Trump. We call him the orange turd. We call him the orange turd. We wouldn't want to offend him? And his hamburglar of a wife? Like, what the fuck? He is a convicted rapist. A convicted rapist. Felon. Dude. To the parents who have to teach their kids, like, work hard and one day you'll get somewhere, or just sit on your ass and do nothing but launder money for our country's enemies, and one day you can be president. Honestly, at least Hitler put the work in. Trump is just the pawn for all the 1%ers around him. Trump doesn't put the work in. Dude, he was fucking golfing the other day already. He'd been in office a week and he was like, I can't do this. It's too much. It's too hard. I have to sign things. If you're, at least Hitler put the work in. Hitler wrote his own damn speeches, picked his own evil masterminds. Trump doesn't do shit except for shitting his own diaper. That he does himself. Doesn't wipe himself, though. And so fucking embarrassing. What a tiny ass man. Did you see him trying to kiss Melania? People are like, oh, I don't understand that hat. I'm like, I do. Notice how he couldn't get fucking close to her face? She's probably gonna wear that hat 24/7. Hey, Melania, I fashionable. You know allowed to see my eyebrows. Mar-a-Lago? Oh god, it's a fucking trailer park. Like TJ Maxx knockoff antiques. Like it's as crappy as Trump. This one time, I was actually in Trump's apartment. I know, not a proud moment for me either. That gold toilet is gold leaf, and it peels. It's just like a Kohler toilet with gold leaf on it. And I'm guessing not real gold leaf. Melania's official portrait is scarier than Trump's. Let's be honest. Although everybody says Melania's whatever, Melania apparently has a boyfriend. He was living in her parents' house the past 4 years with her. Not a very attractive man. But apparently she smiles for him. Look, Gavin Newsom isn't like the hottest guy ever. In politics, it's like Trudeau. In politics, Trudeau is the hottest thing. In the real world, not so hot. But if you had to breed with Trumpy, yeah, Newsom is a cool breeze on a hot ass shit day. Why is she with him? Dude, she just made $40 million to produce her own biography? Do you need me to draw you a diagram of why she's still with him? Look, I truly, truly believe she met Trump. She saw a dumpy 70-something-year-old man who ate hamburgers 3 times a day and thought, this douchebag won't be alive more than 3 years. You know, 18 years later, he's gonna make it to 108. He is her karma. Look, Newsom is not okay. Newsom is clearly okay. Newsom is not unattractive, but let's look at his dating history. Let's look at his cheating history, and let's look at all the money he takes for people that are not good. He's not a great man. He's not bad. He's better than Trump. But you add up the whole of Newsom, he's good for politics. I wouldn't date him. I wouldn't date him. He is a good but flawed man. Look, compared to Trump, I would jump that in 2 seconds. Although he's got that bouncy heel walk thing that I don't like in a man. All right, there's 2 things about guys. Color, age, a little bit of height. But the 2 things I can't stand about guys are when their fingers naturally curve up. Like in a normal resting position, for some reason their fingertips like aren't flat. They have a natural like up curve to them. It just something about it when people with those fingers touch me, like even if they're just like trying to touch me on the arm to be like, excuse me, fire, run. And when they do the bouncy heel walk, I don't know what that is. I think it's like, some kids walk on their tippy toes and they never like fully strengthen their hamstring. There are some guys that bouncy on their heels. They never like completely put their heel on the ground when they walk. Like most people heel toe. They kind of like toe hop. How did I get into Trump's apartment? I may or may not have worked for a company that did business with Trump. And, okay, this was pre-president, this was pre-campaigning, this is pre-whatever. Like, everybody in New York had heard about, like, the tacky antiques, like, knockoffs, and, like, the shitty apartment building that it was. I really wanted to see the gold toilet because everything in me was sure it wasn't. Like, there's sultans in Dubai and wherever else, when they say they have a gold toilet, not one part of me doubts it. And if I ever get to use it, I'm going to file some of the crap off. There, I would spend several hours in the bathroom, but really just because I'd be, like, whittling pieces off. Some part of me just, in my brain, needed to see Trump's toilet, his gold toilet. It is. Okay, first of all, his apartment is a lot of mirrors. It feels very funhouse if you like when you walk in, because there's like the entryway, there's a couple stairs, and then there's this marble thing. But there's a lot of mirrors, and it has that same vibe as when you walk into a funhouse and there's those mirrors that you get lost in. Melania's room is on the entire opposite fucking side of the apartment from Trump's, which tells you all you need to know. I did. I wanted to see the toilet, I'm not gonna lie. But also, they're really, really cheap knockoff antiques. Like, when the dollar store tries to do something that looks like Victorian, you can just tell. For $1, it is what it is. In Trump's apartment, even if you know nothing about antiques, when you look at what's in his apartment, there's not one part of you that goes like, yeah, that's a Ming vase. I've also been in Robert De Niro's apartment. And who else? Oh, what the hell is her name? Lauren Bacall's. Um, I've been in a few apartments. I've lived an interesting life. And I will say, celebrities' apartments, aside from there are the celebrities that let you film their apartments for like Architectural Digest. You want to be in the apartments of the celebrities who don't want you photographing their apartment. Those are funky. All right, Lauren Bacall, frigid ass bitch. Like, dead eye will look you in the eye and just say fuck you. Leslie Stahl and Rachel Ray. If you guys think I curse, those guys not only would make a sailor blush, they would make a sailor apologize and go practice profanity. Rachel Ray has the dirtiest mouth of anybody I've ever heard, like hands down, male or female. Rachel Ray has the worst mouth of anybody I've ever heard, and I've heard like kitchen chefs, not the ones on TV. Hands down, Rachel Ray. She is a nasty piece of work. A couple of years ago, one of my friend's parents got tickets to go see the Rachel Ray show and was like, we'll be in the city, come hang out with us. And I was like, what are you going to see? I'd love to. And she was like, Rachel Ray. And I'm like, I'll see you after for lunch. No. Look, like Bobby Flay is a pretentious SOB, and everybody knows it. Plus, like, a terrible cheater. My favorite thing about New York is there are no secrets. There are no secrets. You can't do anything in New York for more than 2 days without everybody knowing your business. Bobby Flay is the biggest a-hole ever. It's not tea. Like, anybody in New York can tell you this stuff. Any city where people live on top of each other, you don't get away with crap. Like, absolutely everybody in the city knew about Epstein. Absolutely everybody downtown Wall Street knows about those apartment buildings that are not apartment buildings. Well, I mean, they are structured like apartment buildings, but the tenants are by the hour, shall we say? Bobby Flay left his wife in the ER? That tracks. He probably had a mirror to look into. Look, it's not that I don't think he can cook. I just think the restaurant industry is very unfairly tilted towards white men. He's probably not a bad chef. Is he the best chef? No. It's an industry where I think women get zero credit whatsoever. Or we have like Giada and Rachel Ray. Although apparently the brouhaha was that Giada and Bobby Flay were doing the rigatoni. Look, I mean, my favorite TV show would be Bobby Flay and oh, the guy with the veneers with the Wheel of Fortune. Um, what the hell is his name? The Wheel of Fortune guy now, not the Trump ranter. Cannot remember his name. He used to host American Idol. Was the first guy I ever heard of who got his eyelashes tinted. What the hell was his name? Ryan. Oh, thank you, Ryan Seacrest. My personal idea for a reality TV show is Ryan Seacrest and Bobby Flay in a room with one mirror. Yeah. That would be my idea of a TV show. Oh. Rachel Ray having to cook an entire show by prepping her own food. Martha Stewart having to wash her own pans. Not that Martha isn't the OG, and I'll give it to her, but like, Martha still likes to pretend like she preps all that shit. She hasn't diced shit in decades. Giada and her mozzarella. I was born in Italy. You know what? I can say shit with a French accent. I was born in Canada. Look, Martha Stewart's old, but if you're gonna get on TV and pretend better. Have I seen Worst Cooks in America? No. Oh, the TV show. No. First of all, it's a TV show, so half of what's on there is fake. And second of all, no. No to reality television. It's a complete lie and a scam. And while people could actually pay for quality television, instead they mentally torture average Americans and we pay to watch it. No, thank you. Hell's Kitchen? Is that the one with the British guy with the habit? Like all the mistresses he keeps denying? Alright, here's the thing. Reality television takes people who want to be famous and gets them for pennies on the dollar. But over the years, the writers of like, we can work you, we can mentally torture you, you can never hold us responsible for completely screwing up your life. It's so unfair. Like, look, it's a personality trait. Even before television, there were people who just always wanted to be famous. Now we have enough TV shows that some people could be momentarily famous, but like, Gordon. Gordon. Yeah, totally sober. Like the thing is, I don't have a problem with it, and this is okay. This is what I don't understand. In the '80s, celebrities would do interviews like that, and everybody knew what the deal was, and nobody said a word. Like everybody just offered everybody else a quaalude, and it was like coolsies. Nowadays, all these celebrities. Oh no, they would never. Ever. They're just naturally perky and irritable. How is it in the 1980s we could just look at somebody and be like, white line? And in 2025, we're like, oh no, they're probably just high on kale juice. Come on. Come on. Do you know we got HR Puffin stuff and the Smurfs and the Snorks? look what happens to creative people when you fuel them with unlimited. Have you ever seen an episode of Saturday Night Live, the early years? Have you seen a recent episode where everybody's on mood stabilizers? I mean, like, Donnie Jr. at the rocket launch? Oh, well, that's probably just Dentine. He's probably just very worried about tartar control. Dude, the fact that his daddy almost threw 25% tariffs on Colombian products, you best believe he beat feet to the Oval Office. Was the dad? No, you can't. Look, as much as addiction is a problem, and we should definitely not just let it be unchecked, and we definitely shouldn't create a culture that encourages it. You can clearly tell when entertainment was influenced and when it wasn't. George Carlin? Oh. Musk? Musk is not so. Dude, it came out in the Johnny Depp trials. Amber Heard sourced things for Musk, including a lot of celebrities that pretend that they weren't part of orgies with Musk. Can you. Okay. Just in your head, what number would have to be associated with a check? An untraceable check that just landed in your bank account. You would never be rid of the memory. But the number it would take you to marry Trump and like bounce on the ball sack. Now, what would it take for you to have a one-night orgy with Captain Pasty himself, pre-Ozembic? Like, somebody asked me years ago, and I don't know why this came around, but it was like, would you rather? And it was like, for $1 million, would you sleep with Michael Jackson? And it wasn't the $1 million. It was more like, would anybody know? Would I be forced to remember? Would the $1 million be taxed? If I have to remember Trump? Nope. No. Like, just the celebrities that have been rumored to be in Elon's orgies. There's probably a reason they went through a phase of dehydration shortly afterwards. I just. To the people who sell their product, may that money keep you warm at night. Trump and Elon, I'll be writing like love letters to Charles Manson. Yeah. There's no amount of money. And look, I am not rich by any means. But like knowing that for I think the number is like 2.7 million. If you manage to get 2.7 million liquid and you invest it for the rest of your life, 2.7 million is the number that you could retire at. And for the rest of your life, as long as you invest it wisely, it could carry you. 2.7 billion still isn't. Like, my bank account could use money. I'm not going to lie. If anybody wants to drop $1 billion or so in there, I'd be very excited for you to do so. There's not a number for the parties that Amber Heard sourced. Like, I mean, I can kind of understand the Johnny Depp thing, minus his lack of showering. Yeah. You know what? I like a man. I like a man who gets down with the loofah and an antibacterial soap once a year or so. Like, not serial killer, not Republican, aware and active user of hygiene products. My list is not complicated. Trump? Who put the cookie in the cookie jar? Wouldn't that be an interesting story if we re-rolled the tape and later in the day the elevator was in fact... God. You can tell I never want to be a celebrity. Yeah. Okay, so safely retire in these financial times. But that is, it's 2.7 million, and then if you manage to get somewhere between a 5 and 7% return, it equals out to something like $5,000 a month for the rest of your life. If you spend over that, obviously it won't last as long, but like that's like the math breakdown of like when financial advisors have to tell people like if you need a number, that number would be 2.7. When I took my first 401k class, they told me it was 1.6. The fact that we're at 2.7. Okay, but to clarify, 1.7 was to retire at 65 and live to 85. They didn't say comfortably. They were like to exist. 2.7 is what would keep turning and keep paying enough that you could like retire at 45 and keep going. So if anybody here, 109 of you, if anybody here feels like just dropping a cool 2.7 in my bank, I'll pay the PayPal transaction fee for you. We're all totally screwed. Part of me is glad I'm not on TikTok as much because not seeing as much of the news right now, like when I'm emotionally ready to handle it, I'll go looking for it. TikTok was kind of feeding you the news as it happened, and I feel like at this point, sometimes we need a break. We're not retiring. We're not retiring. There was the BlackRock guy the other day who was like, well, 65 is too young. That came from like, I forget when. He named some time period and it was like, and that's because in like the Franco-Roman era or whatever the hell he said was like, that was the number they came up with. I'm like, no, during that time period, if they lived to 65, they were a fucking miracle. At 65, either behind a keyboard or as a manual laborer, your body is broken whether or not. If you're lucky enough to get a good new hip and recover, enjoy your last few years of shuffleboard. But if considering like you start working at 18, maybe 21. 21 to 65 is a long enough run. They had done a thing a few years ago that it was like, if we're really going to live to like 120, like theoretically you graduate high school, college at like 20. And if we're going to live to 120, you wouldn't retire to like 85, 90. You pick a career at 20 and you have to stay in it till 90? Nobody loves anything except for lawyers and the occasional accountant. Nobody loves anything enough to stay in it for 60 something years. Also, that would be some really, really interesting granny corn at that point. But it was, the concept was like, if we're going to do this, if we're going to live so long, if we have to stay in the work industry, like, would we have like a second career? Like at 45, 50, would you go back? Screw Aaron Parnas. Zionist, absolutely not. Would you go back to college and like retrain, like take another 4 years off go back to college, retrain again, and like, oh, you know what? I tried accountant the first time. Now I'm gonna try for like seamstress. I, she has 500 followers. Though. Who has 500 followers? Follower count doesn't matter. Integrity matters way more than follower count. You can buy followers. Anybody can have 500,000 followers. Um, yeah. For multiple reasons. On top of just breaking news, I don't need that level of stress. But his tilt is very pro-Israel, and I am not pro-Israel. I don't hate people of the Jewish faith. I hate people who look at Gaza and think that it's their God-given right to turn it into beachfront property. You were refugees, and the Palestinians were kind enough to let you join them. And then 80 short years later, you're going to remove the last one of them from the earth. 80 years ago, you ran from a genocide, and now you are the genocide. It's also his breaking news. It broke 15 minutes before on CNN. If you're just reading CNN headlines, say it. Do not pretend to be a journalist. Journalist reporters are held to a higher standard. They have to have sources. They have to, pull retractions. There are no retractions from these alleged newsreaders. There are no retractions. There are no apologies. There's no explanation of their beliefs or their tilts. There is no obligation to tell both sides of a story. It is presented as news when it is opinion. That is irresponsible at best. And then when you defend staying on Instagram, no, you want the money, you want the followers, you want the fame. If you would just say it like, bitch, I love my 1.6 million followers, and man, do I love the bank. I'm making more than the average newscaster. Respect. Respect. If you are going to pretend that you are the truth teller, you are not. Like, we did it, Joe. The fuck you did. Joe Biden did it, and even Joe Biden didn't do it. We saved TikTok. The fuck you did. I was in the room where it happened. You got a seat in an open hearing. Like, honestly, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I wouldn't have said one fucking word. We are at the point that our government is actively going to get people killed. Seems to enjoy the fact that people are going to die. Slowly, painfully, miserably. The very few things we have left are community and the truth. And the truth is going to be harder and harder and harder to find. And people propping themselves up for fame. And let me just be clear, I don't give a shit about my follower count. I lost however many followers I had on TikTok. Do you see how it affected me? It doesn't. I am glad if you are here, but I would do this with or without you guys. Although eventually, if nobody was here, I would just sock puppet it. But it would be entertaining as shit. If they were at least honest about who they were and what they were doing and why, okay, I'm here for the money. Coolsies. So is every other newscaster on ABC. But Fox pretends to be news, ABC pretends to be liberal news, And you guys fucking pretend to be the news. Don't lie. Don't lie. The next few years is going to be fucking miserable. And seriously, community and the truth are the only two things we have left that are ours. And we need to value them so much. So much. It's literally the two things you can't take from us. You know, like, oh, I get from people all the time, like, you're such a voice of reason. I'm like, no, I just have like a modicum of fucking common sense, which most people fucking threw away like last year's episode of Vogue. Like, who needs that? It's tacky. Marie Kondo it. Marie Kondo. Oh, buy $10,000 of containers to contain your life in an organized way. Yeah, we just organized you out of owning shit. Hello. Hello. Now watch my P.O. box fill up with... I didn't mean to, but I will tell you, I went on a coffee rant. People started sending me coffee. There was a brand of coffee, and I don't want to... See, the problem is, I get these little... Oh, where are they? I get those little slips in the packages, which are like, oh my god, I love your content. Here's some coffee. Mary. Mary, how am I supposed to send you a thank you card? At least give me your username. This one woman sent me coffee from Texas, and when the package came from Texas, the woman at my post office is now aware that my P.O. box is because I'm an influencer. To her, it's cool because I am the only influencer in the post office. So, like, she's like, we have an influencer, which I guess she brags to other postmatrons. This box came from Texas. And she was like, you got a box from Texas? I was like, I was like, 50-50, this is not, like, 50-50, this is a dookie in a box. Came from Texas. I'm not wildly popular in Texas. I opened it up and it was coffee, and I was like, oh, it's coffee. I'm never gonna say no to coffee. Ever. Even like Folgers. And it was, oh, what the hell's the coffee company now? Like Bring Her Up? Like Dig Her Up? It is a Texas coffee brand. They are oil riggers, like former oil riggers and some current oil riggers, but I guess if your job is working with that kind of machinery, you need to be on your A game. I was like, oh, these are probably Republicans, and I couldn't really find anything on their website, so I was like, well, you know what, I'll show those Republicans. I'll drink their coffee. I'll show them. It's good. Like, it's so well roasted. It doesn't make any sense. Like, their job is to get oil out of the ground and, like, get covered in mud. And yet, like, it's good coffee. It's such a shame because it's good coffee. It's blueberry pie crumble, but it just tastes like blueberry. There's nothing, like, there's no vanilla back to it. But, like, it's good. Like, every once in a while, somebody sends me a shawl, and I couldn't be happier. And I don't ask for stuff. Like, I get a lot of Christmas cards, and I sent a lot of Christmas cards, and that's really why it was up there. Is it Rig It Up? Maybe. Texas coffee. I can't find it. And I literally was on their website earlier. It was delicious. Proving that, you know, coffee can unite all of us. Is this the real me? Oh god, are we doing this? I am me, I am not AI. I have new cavity fillings If the AI bot has metal fillings in her back 13, 15, and whatever, it ain't me. I think I looked it up on my phone, not on my whatever. Do I have a coffee grinder? Yes, I do. Of course I do. I mean, I don't judge. In a pinch, pre-ground is acceptable. Mushroom coffee? Don't get me wrong, I love mushrooms. I really do. I love mushrooms, all kinds. You can make mushroom soup. You can make a delicious mushroom soup, but what mushrooms will never be is coffee. If you gave it to me like in the mid-afternoon and you were just like, oh, like here's a health benefit brew, fine. If you're going to start my day with the expectation of coffee, honestly, cut those mushrooms up, put it in a little cream base, make a cream of mushroom soup. I'm fine with it. If you're presenting it, if you are presenting it as coffee, I am generally a nice person. If you interrupt my coffee flow, look, and this is one of those things like when people are gluten-free and they're like, oh my God, it tastes just like a Twinkie. There is nothing on this goddamn planet, natural or fake, that tastes like a Twinkie and is gluten-free. Let's just, in the history of ever, that will never happen. Like Morningstar, which is a Kellogg's brand now, makes a vegetable breakfast link that gets like texturally gets close. It has like a little bit of a spinach finish to it, but like if somebody was eating it fast, they might not know. And I will say some of those veggie crumbles that are supposed to be like ground beef, they're close. But like to the gluten-free crowd that tells you things like, oh my God, it tastes just like a ho-ho. The stevia tastes just like sugar. I grew up macrobiotic. I have had every alternative sugar syrup sauce on the planet. Anybody who tries to tell you those little sugar packets, the blue, the green, the pink ones, they taste just like sugar. You're having a stroke or you have COVID. None of those things taste like sugar. Diet Coke, if you drink enough of it, starts to taste like actual Coke. The chemicals have gotten to your brain. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Look, as somebody who is desperate, who will roll up on a gas station where the coffee was made 3 days ago at 8 a.m., I will pour myself a cup, sprinkle a little salt in there, and move on with my life. But if you hand me a cup of warm brown liquid and you tell me it's coffee, and I taste mushroom, know that our friendship has fundamentally ended, but also I'm not even gonna like give you a nice grave. It's gonna be sloppy and probably in the swamp where you deserve to be. I'm not violent. I'm not violent, but don't mess with. I'm also like wildly allergic to a lot of these like alternative fake things. Like fake sugars give me migraines like nothing else. Maybe it's because like literally my body repels that stuff. Maybe that's why I think it tastes like licking the inside of a Lysol can. But to the people who tell me like, "Oh my God, no, it tastes just like sugar." I legit look at your face to see if one side is falling for signs of stroke when you say things like that. Or like vegetarians who are like, "You don't even miss the bacon." Like everybody misses the bacon. Even lifelong vegans miss the bacon. There's not one person on earth who's ever tasted bacon and gone, eh. If I ever became like diabetic, I would just give up sugar. Like the fake stuff, the fact that you have to like trick your brain to try to pretend like it was, like, no. You don't have to like it, but you've tasted it. You know what it tastes like. you and I both know there's nothing else on the planet that's ever going to taste like bacon. It's like chocolate. Chocolate is chocolate. There's nothing on the planet that tastes. Oh, it's white chocolate. No, that's some kind of waxy sugar substance. Like you can call it what it. Oh, like yogurt coated pretzels. That is not yogurt. I don't know why we believe that bullshit. That is not yogurt. Just we ran out of shit to dip pretzels in, so we decided to label it yogurt because yogurt's a healthy food. No, like those Yoplait cups, while delicious, don't get me wrong, those Yoplait cups have more sugar in them than the average cheesecake. If you're gonna give me a Yoplait or you're gonna give me a piece of cheesecake, I'm gonna choose the cheesecake. Chocolate is chocolate. Carob, because I grew up macrobiota, carob is not chocolate. As somebody whose first Easter bunner was carob, I can tell you carob and chocolate are not the same thing. But when you have hippie parents, and I don't mind the taste of carob, but you cannot lie to somebody and be like carob and chocolate. Exact same, you'll never know the difference. You will. You will. Don't get me wrong, Yoplait is delicious, but Yoplait is dessert masquerading as healthy. And what's it, Activia? Just take a fiber pill. Do you know the secret to Activia? It's sugar and a fiber pill. You can buy an entire container of psyllium husk capsules. You will poop in the next morning like a champion. And you can skip over the, like, I'm doing good for my gut. It's just, the lies are, like, untenable. One of my favorite things is Greek yogurt with, like, really good honey. Because then it's, like, tart and sweet, and it's infinitely more satisfying than anything. Chia seeds, but only chia seeds and water. Never, ever, ever raw dog a chia seed. Look, I like white chocolate. I like black licorice. I love salted black licorice. But there's no part of my brain that looks at black licorice and Twizzlers and goes, yeah, those two things are the same. There's no part of me that looks at, like, a Cadbury bar and a Alpine bar and goes, oh yeah, those are the exact same thing. Like in the dark, I couldn't tell you the difference. Sometimes I actually drink Diet Coke and I just didn't even know. Like, so lucky to have hippie parents. I somehow ended up with none. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I didn't realize how extraordinary my parents were growing up. I loved your newsletters so far. Thank you for your list. My newsletters? I don't have a newsletter. I've had trouble sleeping recently, if you can't tell. But I am pretty sure I've been awake for most of that. I don't have newsletters. Happy parents surprised me. I imagine your dad being Harvard-educated Chris Farley. No. No, I am the loosest thing my family has seen in centuries. They are all very, like, stiff, starch. My parents are very classical, like Brits. I am their hippie child that they really, really, really tried hard to understand, but like, I'm gonna run naked through the sprinkler all summer long. I don't think there's parts of my parents' bodies that ever saw the light of day. Oh, Patreon. Does it send you a summary? If it sends you a newsletter, I'm very confused. Yeah, no. My mom's adorable. She doesn't mean to be funny. She's more British funny, like accidentally. Like, good luck with your revolution for, like, let them eat cereal. Like, really wished me luck storming the castle. Like, haha. Oh, I was so worried. I'm like, what do I do in my sleep? Like, there's no way I put together newsletters, right? I would remember that. It does an email summary? No way. Venezuelan chocolate? I have never had Venezuelan chocolate. Patreon sends newsletters? Fancy. Really, and this is another thing that drives me crazy. I have put check sheets, like checklists together in a Google sheet, and people are like, I don't trust Google. If I put the same list in Patreon, everybody's like, oh my God, I love it. Like, some people get confused and they sign up for my Patreon and they send in money, and I'm like, I don't know why. I was literally giving it to you for free, but okay. But like, if I gave it to you in a Google sheet, you're like, oh, they're watching. If I give you a link to Patreon, you're like, oh, thank you for the information. I don't understand that. It's one of those things that I'm just like, things they don't explain to you until you get on social media. People will trust a Patreon link, which is just a website. I, I don't know. I tried to run away with the Traveling Grateful Dead at 4. They just laughed at it. Yeah. I mean, Lord love my parents. My sister was very much like them and very much broke them from like. My sister was like the well behaved child. She did all the things right all the time. And they just got settled into the idea like, ooh, we're just good parents. Look at our well behaved child. And then this came along. Apparently, like, my mom's pregnancy with my sister wasn't bad. My mom's pregnancy with me, every time she tried to like sit down in any way, stop moving, like she would go to the bathroom. And apparently that was the most offensive thing to me. That was the exact moment I decided that her kidney was my soccer ball. Day or night, I would wake up in utero and just be like, no peeing for you. She was like, the second you could move, you were not kind. I did not let that woman sleep. She ended up in the hospital 4 times because it was just like she had intense labor. And then I was like, nope. And then casually at like 12:01 in the afternoon, I was like, okay, I'm ready to get up now. Like, hello, world. Whereas my sister was like, I'm here. You said I would be born on this day at this time, and that was your prediction, and so I arrived. I was like, when I am good and damn well done baking, don't mess with me. And then every day after that, I was the antithesis of my sister. You could leave my sister alone in a room with like a blowtorch and just like a mountain of weapons. At best, she would organize them. Maybe shine them up a little. I would start a war if you left me unsupervised for under 5 minutes with that same pile. Weirdly, as an adult, I have become infinitely more buttoned up and straight laced, but like in relation to my family, if you saw us at a family reunion and we all just wore masks so you couldn't see how much I look like my parents, you would assume I was the guest of somebody. I do not. I am not like any of them. They all enjoy starching their clothing so much. And I would happily live in the forest barefoot for the rest of my life. They enjoy forks and knives and everything cut perfectly in little squares. If all utensil disappeared, I would be happy to eat with my 3 fingers for the rest of my life. But I will say, like, my parents, to their credit, really, really, really were just like, you know what? Be you. I think, like, secretly, deep down, they were like, look at this kid rolling in the mud. We've always wanted to do that. I think I am like multiple generations of my family, like recessive genes. I am every like repressed desire from my genetic line in one person. Like, that looks fun. Now let's go, let's go enjoy the safety lecture. Whereas I was like, that looks fun. I'm going to go dive in the ice pond now. I am, and I will say my parents totally, against everything they ever knew, totally let me be me. And God, that must have been so difficult because, yeah, yeah, I pretty much set things on fire. One time I did. Outside. Not bad. Not bad. They caught it. Luckily, they were home. I only electrocuted myself twice as a child. After the second time, you really do learn. Yeah. My dad taught me to drive when I was like 7, 8. You ever seen an 8-year-old on the Autobahn? No, you haven't. There is a photo of me driving on the Autobahn when I was 8. Um, like the first time, okay, so the first time I electrocuted myself, I had really wet hands, and we had a light switch next to like the socket was right below it. So in fairness, I think I basically splashed water from my wet hands into the socket and then touched the light switch. I walked out of the bathroom and I just like walked right up to my mom and I'm like, why did you hit me? Like my parents didn't hit me. I was just like, my little brain processed it as like, mom must have slapped me and run away. So like, I was like, and you hit me, why? And my mom's just looking at me and she's like, I'm used to a lot from you, but like, what? I was like, you hit me. She's like, when? I was like in the bathroom. I was washing my hands and coming out to like whatever, and you hit me. And she's like, walked me back into the bathroom, and she's like, where did I hit you? And I like went to put my hand next to the whatever, and she's like, she saw how wet my hands still were, and she's like, you just electrocuted yourself, didn't you? We were supposed to go to the library. There was like story time or something. My mom sat in the kitchen for like 2 solid hours until my dad came home from work, and she was just like, so our daughter almost killed herself today? There was a very, 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 very long lecture about water and electricity that night from my parents. Yeah, yeah. Most 6-year-olds do not have that kind of an understanding of the voltage and the electrical currents that run through your average suburban home. Like my parents didn't lecture, they sat you down for an educational lecture, which is worse. I would have loved to have been sent to my room as a kid. God damn, would I've loved to be sent to my room as a kid. I got lectures. I got lectures about how many currents it takes to like stop a human heart. Second time was more accidental. I was actually trying to rebuild something and I connected one wire but not the grounding wire. That hurt. That had a burn in my fingertips for several days. That's when I learned. That's when I learned. I mean, it's possible I would have had curly hair because my family comes from a long line of curly haired people. So, like, my pin straight hair thing, it's probably directly related to this second electrocution. I didn't tell them about that one though, because in fairness, I didn't want the lecture and I figured my heart didn't stop. So, 2 times. I didn't just taste metal, it for days. And that's the other thing, like when you don't tell your parents you almost killed yourself accidentally. You have to eat dinner with the taste of a bucket of quarters in your mouth. Like, oh, you're not hungry. I'm like, yes, I am. This is delicious. It was days. It wasn't just like a day, it was days of tasting metal. Yeah, my parents never hit me. I was actually never grounded and I never got hit. And I think it shows. But my dad went to Catholic school with nuns, like the old school nuns that were like the spinster nuns that hated everybody. He had a photo one day. He wasn't doing something in math class, and the nun beat his hands with the metal side of a ruler. So there were like not only welts, but cuts. I think in that moment, my dad decided, like, if he ever had kids, he would never hit them no matter what. Like, I think fundamentally, like, that moment was like, no. We were places, and my dad would walk up to people and be like, you hit your kid again, I'll hit you. And he was not that kind of guy, but like, if you can't figure out how to discipline your kid with just words, no. Um, yeah, I think that was like, my dad and my mom must have had a talk at some point, but yeah, we were never hit. We were never grounded. We were lectured. And as we got older, we used to have to write essays. Like, we would have to research, like, home currency or home current standards for electrical grade within a residential home. Luckily, we were living in the US and not the UK at the time because, yeah, you don't want to touch a light switch in the UK with wet hands. Yeah, no, I had friends who were the flip flop. Latino Asian communities were very big on the flip flop. Oh, and the Italians all got wooden spoons. Wooden, yeah. Somebody once said to me, like, your parents never hit you, did they? And I was like, it shows, doesn't it? We had a Mr. Stick. At the very least, my family broke a lot of generational trauma. Like, a lot of my other relatives drink, somewhat functioning alcoholics. My parents don't drink at all. Like, if my mom has a glass of wine for Christmas dinner, she worries she's edging into alcoholism. Like a glass of wine. I think my parents sat down, like before generational trauma was a thing. I think they sat down and was like, okay, everything our parents did to us. Spanked, grounded, and strapped in wooden spoons. I remember being at like, okay, so I had a lot of Asian friends growing up. Korean grandparents and their pressure point tortures. I would tell my Italian friends, like, you have nothing. Have you ever knelt on concrete with a book above your head for hours? Is my one friend, her Korean grandmother, who now makes my kimchi. If we got in trouble, I got in the same kind of Korean trouble. Korean kids are tough as shit. I don't. They could endure whatever. Like, you want to know who's going to survive whatever Trump is doing? Korean American kids. They are tougher than they look. Dude, there used to be a time when teachers were allowed to hit you. Ooh, so glad my parents chose the Montessori route. Again, if you can't tell, Montessori. Oh my god. I will say we didn't get participation trophies though, so at least on that side of things. My parents would take books away. Like, that was a big one. The same Korean trouble? Yeah. Oh, like Koreans punish their kids in ways that are just Now there's like the naughty chair and the timeout, like yeah, no. We live in different times. But yeah, most of my friends got flip flop. Chanclada? Yeah, chanclada. That has a reverb to it. I will say, I was actually supposed to be. I'm ambidextrous. Um, Not that everybody can't do this, that proves nothing, but I am naturally left-handed. Um, but my parents just knew that that was going to be terrible. So every day in my childhood, they rubbed my hand with raw garlic so I wouldn't like try to use it or touch it because it would smell or taste bad when I went to feed myself. Um, I do a lot of stuff left-handed and I don't really catch myself, but I used to get in trouble because I would write half my homework right-handed and then I would write the other half left-handed. And it really, really like, who else did your homework? I'm like, no, I can write with both hands. We are not nearly as far away as we think. I will say I live in a very liberal area. Some of these kids deserve a little bit of a spanking. I'm not gonna lie. I forget where. It was clearly some like, oh, Zabar's. It was clearly like a city kid and his like, I guess, Florida grandparents. And there's like a takeaway, like ready-made meals, and then there's like a counter that you can sit down and eat them at. And the grandma said to her grandson, like, well, do you want any more noodles? Or, we can take it home and have it later. And he was like, they're not noodles, it's udon. I was having a full on conversation with somebody else. Like, my head spun completely around, and I was like, if you like, I'll hit him for you. It was just such a pretentious, it's udon. Those poor grandparents. I was at a movie theater one time and some kid, like the line for snacks was like a mile long. And the kids were standing outside the theater waiting to go in. And finally, this mom walks up with like all harassed and holding like 3 popcorns and like 2 drinks. And the one kid like goes to reach for a slushie and he's like, I said red, not blue. And like literally shoved it back in his mom's face, like, go fix it. Sir, I wouldn't even put you back from where you came. I would split you down to the DNA. I mean, look, the parents do it to themselves, but like, to this day, I won't backtalk my mom. I am a grown ass adult. There is not one part of me that would backtalk my mom. Yes, you do spy the you have to spy the squishamallow. You can't hide the squishamallow. It fits so perfectly under your knees when you're reading. But literally, you can't hide it. I actually brought another one up to Toronto with me, and it was sitting in the car, and I was like, at this point, I could just strap it in the seatbelt. Like, it's the size of a passenger. We need kids because robots aren't advanced enough to take care of us, but also kids give us hope for the next generation. Yeah. If nobody was going to use if the last person was going to die in like 2080 and there would be nobody else, why bother saving the fucking planet? It's an amazing sacrifice to have kids. First of all, the sleep deprivation. Navy SEALs on Hell Week apparently have like better cognitive skills than parents in the first month after birth. To then have to put up with 18 years of every kind of stress, abuse, and financial hardship ever, all while like, Mom, 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 Mom! There's a reason I have not bred. There is a reason I have not bred. I admire parents. It is an effing sacrifice. Like, I know there's moments of absolute love where they look at their kids, and you can just, there's a moment where parents look at their kids, sometimes right after they've been complete assholes, but like the little brother wipes off his sister's chin or something, and they're just like, you see their hearts melt. it's a look that parents get on their face, and it's just like, worth it. I swear to God, even at weddings, like when they're watching their kid walk down the aisle, like every parent just has this, like, all this shit was worth it kind of thing. Um, but also, like, their imagination, the fact that they can take a stick and make it 10,000 things. I mean, like, oh, kids say the darndest things. They do. Their little minds are fucking fascinating. They're infinitely more interesting than most adults. Hey, look, having kids now, having kids in the next 4 years, but they do. They make us want to keep the world going. They give us hope that future generations will do better than us. Honestly, if we could afford it, more people would have them. It's just, at this point, having a kid is signing up for a lifetime of debt. If we all had like universal base income and guaranteed health care, I don't think we'd have a population problem. Uh, Daycare, universal base income, and health care. I think there's a lot of people. And I think more so, I think men and women have recognized that they would survive being single parents. It's just now, it's cheaper to take on a house than a kid. I, if I had nothing but time to raise a kid, maybe I would have had one. But, you know, trying to hold down a job and gain a career and manage to pay my bills, I can't have a spawn at home who needs the last 3 hours of my day. Um, Look, I love my godchildren. I find them all so damn fascinating. Kids don't lie. When you ask them how they are and they say sad, they mean sad. And when their little minds just think things through, you can hand them such a complex like problem. You can explain quantum computing to them. And then their little minds process it and they're like, what color's the cord to the server? Blue. Okay. Like they've thought about it. They're like, okay, and here's what's important to me out of this whole topic. Or like, what's the computer's name? And it just puts it in this perspective that you're like, oh, half the reason I do story time with my god kids is not the stories. It's the things they say. They're fucking fascinating individuals. Unfortunately, many of them will probably turn into douchebag adults, but at least I've done my small part to like. Some of them are teenagers. I still have story time with them. They won't tell anybody. They will deny it until their death. But we have story time. Because I'm the cool godmother who has time. I'm not the cool godmother, but I have the time. And they get devoted time once a week where somebody listens to them. Oh no, kids lie, but kids lie in very inventive ways. When a kid has like dumped a bucket of paint in the house and they don't want to get in trouble, they lie. But they lie so good. Well, see, what happened was Cookie Monster rang the doorbell. And Cookie Monster has been falling on hard times because, you know, Sesame Street. And so he started a painting business. But I said, Mommy's upstairs. And he said, but what if I paint the living room as a treat for Mommy? And like 45 minutes later, 45 minutes later. But when you ask them how they are, they will tell you. Like, I'm sad, I'm happy. You ever see a kid with a piece of candy just like staring off into like euphoria? Like, what are you thinking about? I love lollipops. That's it. Their entire world is like, I love lollipops. That's what's in my brain right now. I am just sitting here blissed out thinking about how delicious a lollipop is. I have that kind of time in my day. I mean, granted, I sat here for 10 minutes talking about coffee, but it's important. It makes life possible. Cookie Monster. There, look. There is somebody who hyper focuses on what they love. Okay. Okay, but it is 9:30, and I actually do have story time starting soon, so not to wrap this up, it has been fun, but I have to go be the awesome godmother that I am. Because obviously it's raining spaghetti and meatballs. Do you know C's makes coffee flavor lollipops? They come very close flavor wise. If they actually put caffeine in them. But yeah. Yeah, of all the things I might hoard in the next few years because of Trump. I mean, I would never. I would definitely. I'm honestly thinking of getting a freeze dryer because I saw these two people on TikTok. They've walked like the distance of the country like 10 times. They made their own instant coffee. Sold. Okay. Have a good night. Be kind, be safe, be good. Turn off social media if you need to. We will get through this next 4 years. I mean, it might not be easy, but we're going to get through. As long as we have coffee. Good night, all. Oops.